A Retro Gamer's Guide to Collecting, tip number 10, I think. I don't know, it'll be in the title when I put the video up. But I've been getting a lot of questions from younger subscribers lately about how to start their collection, or what system they should start collecting for first. So I figured I would throw up just a couple of quick tips about how I went about doing that. My advice for you guys would be, first of all, to start out by giving yourself a clearly defined goal. It'll give some direction to your collecting, and it'll make it easier for you to determine how best to spend your money. And then if you ever reach that goal, you'll feel, a sense of satisfaction. You'll feel like you've actually achieved something. And remember, you can always push beyond that goal, set yourself a new goal. For me, originally my goal was to collect the systems that I grew up with as a kid, which would have been the Atari 2600, the Sega Master System, and the Sega Genesis. Then that goal turned into collecting all the Atari systems and all the Sega systems. And then once I had that, it became about collecting all the systems from the 80s, and then all the systems from the 90s, and then eventually the systems from the 70s, which I'm still working on, but hopefully I'll reach that goal one day. Next thing I would tell you is start with a system you're familiar with. By starting with a system that you're familiar with, something either you had when you were younger, or in the case of some of you younger viewers, something that a friend may have, or maybe your father had, or whatever, you'll know exactly what you're getting. There won't be any mystery as to what the system plays like, and you'll have a good idea of which games you want to collect first. Start with a system that has a large library of games. Whether you're going to collect for the Atari 2600 or the NES, the Genesis, the PlayStation, whatever it is, a larger library of games means your collection will take shape faster, and you won't have to spend a lot of money to build a respectable library. Just remember that rare games are still going to be hard to find, and they're usually going to cost you a lot of money. Next, I would say, if it's possible, start with a system that can run games from multiple platforms. The Atari 7800, for instance, if you're going to collect for the Atari 2600, will allow you to play 2600 games and 7800 games, and it's compatible with all the accessories. You might want to consider buying the PlayStation 2 if you want to collect for the Sony PlayStation, because it can play both platforms and it happens to also play DVDs. Or you can look for something like a Sega Genesis with the power base converter so that you can play Master System games, or with the Sega CD or the 32X, because it'll allow you to play games from those platforms as well. You could also start with something like the Retron 3. I mean, it's not a horrible thing buying a clone, because at least with the Retron 3, you can play games from the Sega Genesis, the NES, or the Super Nintendo, and it will allow you to use the original controllers, which means you can use the Zapper with that. Finally, it's always cheaper to buy in bulk. If you can afford it, I would recommend getting a system that has a whole bunch of games that come with it. So, to summarize, start with a goal, start with a system you're familiar with, start with a system that has a large library of games, then, if possible, get a system that runs multiple platforms, and buy in bulk. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps some of you.